What's going on, everyone? My name's Mac. I'm coming to you guys with another video. Today I'm going to be talking more about, what you should do with your time, but more what I think I should do with my time. And I don't know, I've been thinking about. I kind of pretty much talked about that in the last video, but I ponder like, okay, well, I spent all this time thinking about what I should do with my time, which I guess could be done endlessly, but I have yet to really come up with an answer to that question. But in the meantime, there are things that you do, like you still do things that you don't realize you do. Um, it's just that I don't know, it's just like unconscious things that you do. And I realize with a lot of these things that I do, I don't really do them and enjoy the journey of them, which kind of makes me get this apathetic view toward life, like, um, everything is boring, you know, um, like this, that, and the other thing. Like, oh, there's nothing I like, you know. But the reality is, there are things that I will do, but I don't really do them for the means. I do them for the result or the end. So I don't really do anything for the journey, and I find that kind of interesting because um, it's kind of weird because if you don't do anything for the journey, then why do you have a preference toward doing anything? But there's clearly still a preference, so I don't know if the preference is minor. And I also don't really think you can choose your preferences. Like, I think just people have preferences and that's it. But I think the preference, if there is one for what you're doing, for me at least, it tends to be quite minor. For me, everything comes down to the result, the end, what I get from doing said thing. And this made me think a little bit more in depth about results and what makes a result worth it. Now, first off, I can even go into a side topic real quick. Um, People always ask, what is meaning? Well, meaning is when you sacrifice your own well-being for, a greater ideal, and your brain gives you meaning. Typically, when it serves the needs of reproduction, right? So it's really about the premise really is about harming the things that are important in life, which the only thing that's important in life is well-being. I've mentioned this on my channel many times. It's harming your well-being, aka not working out, malnourishing yourself, um, you know, anything that could potentially harm your state of well-being, things like that. Um, in exchange for that, you're spending 14 hours on some office job or your new business or something, and your brain is loving it more, sort of, um, because you're doing that. You're sort of exchanging your own personal well-being for an ideal. Now, I don't ever condone this. I don't think it's good. I think meaning is a sham, and there is none. But I think that the best approach really is to, even if you're going to go and invest into some ideal, which I'll get into in a minute, that you shouldn't ever consider it a good idea to sacrifice anything that falls under the category of well-being. Um, I had somewhat of a list written down on well-being here, but just some things are sleep. You should never be so obsessed or immersed in some ideal, and it will be hard to not be like this once I go into what else I'm about to talk about. But you should never sacrifice some ideal for sleep. Sleep is the most important thing on the planet. It's the most important thing in life, period. Uh, then you have diet, which is a close second, but really not close. I mean, sleep is probably more important than diet, in my opinion. Um, but some people might disagree. Um, then you have sex, which could also be fapping if you don't have sex. And really, you don't want to do this either too much or too little. So you just want to get in that Goldilocks zone of not being lethargic, not being a lethargic coomer, but also, once you're on day 50, not even, day 14 of NoFap, all you can think about is sex, which isn't productive. So you want to get in the middle, find your Goldilocks zone, make sure your hormonal imbalance becomes a hormonal balance, and keep your body happy. Because who knows how many subconscious things are affected by hormones, you know? Fitness, things like both moving your body in step counts and cardio, but also muscle building and cleaning your environment, socializing, whether that be social media, which replicates socializing in a better format than actual socializing, and or real socializing is good. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, maybe you could add a few other things, but those things that I just listed, that's all life has to offer. That's it. That's it. That's all life is. But there's an issue with that, because if that's all that life is, and these things in life, the only thing in life that matters is well-being. Sure, you can go and you can strike 10 of 10 out of the park every day, get enough sleep, eat properly, which is kind of a loaded term. You can't even really eat properly. Like, everything has something bad in it, so it's kind of like a catch-22 with diet. But there are things that are objectively inferior than others, you know? But, you got, you know, fitness and stuff like that. Even if you're doing these things properly, they don't take up enough time of your day. So even if you're striking 10 of 10, you still have all this other time to fill. And I guess you could socialize around the clock or something like that. But we all know, as thinkers and lamenters over here, we know that that's not really possible for people, for everyone, and that it's really not even an ideal scenario, right? Maybe you'd be better off sacrificing like a large sum of socializing for reading, which I don't even know if you'd consider reading well-being. It might just be something else entirely. It's I don't know. I guess they're both forms of the same thing, but I don't know. Take it for whatever you will. So the fact of the matter is, there's not enough time in a day to only focus on well-being. So you do need some other ideal that you're going after, that you care for, that actually just kills part of your day. Because, like I said, most of life is just a waiting game. I've said that in other videos. And since it's a waiting game, a big issue is killing the time. So, you do need an ideal to kill time with. And that's what really makes me get interested in, well, what are the things that I do? And I was thinking about it, and I realized that I don't really do anything for the journey. So I do everything for the ideal. And, well, I realize there are also different kinds of ideals and different kinds of rewards or results. When you say means to an end, well, what kind of end are we talking about here? Because, sure, you can sit down, for example, in a Call of Duty game, you could buy a fresh Call of Duty game, brand new one, and say, well, yeah, I really want to hit the maximum rank. You know, I want to just hit the maximum rank. But even if hitting maximum rank isn't or even if it is your ideal, even if it's your main goal, 99.99% of your thoughts, actions, whether conscious or unconscious, are not going to be about hitting the max rank. The max rank is just the ideal. It's just the symbol in the background. Most of what you're doing is killing people, right? In the game. Most of what you're doing is in game, not out of game. And even more than that, well, not as much as killing, but there's also the element of winning matches, right? So, and you'll be winning games more than you will be max rank, or more than you will be trying to obtain your ideal, and you'll be killing people more than you'll be winning games, right? So it seems like video games have this perfect system where they have a by second reward, which is by the second, aka every kill, you get that plus 100 on your screen. It feels really good. You get that instant gratification, right? Now, some things in reality have replicated this, but not that many have replicated a by-second reward as well as video games have. Then you have a by-minute reward, which is, hey, if you get enough kills, you win the match, right? And if you've seen me play, it's usually by a long shot I win these games, right? But by-minute reward, right? You get enough kills, you win the match, right? And what does winning the match do? It gives you a match bonus, it gives you bonus XP. And all of this stuff is important to you because it's there to reach your ideal of, ranking up or reaching a max rank or reaching a larger ideal. So the reason I use video games as an example is because they all come built in with these three things. But a lot of things in reality don't. And I would argue that if you really wanted to get yourself to enjoy any type of thing in life, one approach would be this idea I'm talking about here, which is you need to somehow get this thing, this ideal, you need to have or this result, so to speak, or whatever it is you want to do. You need to have these three components: a by second reward, a by minute reward, and then a larger ideal. Right? So the larger ideal is really important, and so is the by second reward. So if you look at laundry, for example, doing laundry, you have no larger ideal. It's not as if you do 1,000 loads of laundry, you're going to hit some maximum rank and have some status symbol that isn't even important, right? Do things in video games even matter? Not really. I mean, these ranks don't really matter, but your brain sees them as important there, and so there's really no telling what makes your brain value something or makes your brain not value something. But clearly there is a possible way, whether it be through status or security or safety or something, that makes your brain value an ideal over another, right? And so if you take the example of laundry, there is no ideal for doing 1,000 or 2,000 loads of laundry, right? And that's kind of problematic because that already is going to make the process of doing laundry less enjoyable, less likely to, excite you and stuff like that. And you could argue laundry is honestly a component of well-being. If keeping your environment clean is a component of well-being, that means that laundry is actually one of the things in life that is important. Yet it is lacking this most basic function of a larger ideal. There is no, I mean, I guess we could get into the by minute reward, which is complete the load. Um, you know, uh, and there is also really no by second reward either. It's not like your brain is rewarding you for each shirt you put in there. If anything, it's like fuck, get the shirt in the get the shirt in the washer, right? So video games do a really good job with every kill, and for example, in Call of Duty, giving you that plus 100. They don't have to put that plus 100 there, but they do it because it's reinforcing that instant gratification, right? Whereas in real life, there really is no instant gratification. If you put the shirt in, it's not going to reward you. You see what I'm saying? That like the plus 100 will. The equivalent would be if we had some kind of Neuralink, right? And while you were at work, let's say you had a HUD, right? A HUD, like on the game, they have like the ammo in the corner and the map up top, right? And no matter where you go, the HUD is always there. Imagine if you had Neuralink and we had a HUD. We had the top, like in our eyes, right? Maybe it it plugged into our visual cortex, and now we had the time in the corner of our vision. We had the temperature, any important data, and we had this in our eyes, like literally in our field of view. And you could maybe turn it off really easy with a voice command or just a thought. Maybe since it's plugged into your brain, you could just think a thought and it would turn it off. That way, even if you're, I don't know, that way, it accounts for all the other issues. If you can't speak or something, if someone kidnaps you and duct tapes your mouth, you can still turn something on. You can still dial 911 with your plugged in, pretty much basically the point I'm trying to make is everything that's on a cell phone right now will eventually be plugged into your brain. So, these kinds of things are clearly very possible. But let's say we did have a HUD, right, in our visual cortex. Well, as you're at work, maybe they could implement a plus 1 cent for every, couple seconds that pass, or if you make enough money, plus $1 or plus whatever. With inflation, it'll probably be plus $1. Could you imagine if, as you were working, you seen the dollars coming in, right? That would give you that by second reward that I think would entice a lot of people to enjoy the actual minute by minute basis of work, And you could say because, but you could also say there's some people who wouldn't value it because they don't value getting rich, and that is a problem. So you need to have a larger ideal, right? Because if you don't value maybe hitting $1 million, then hitting $1 every minute isn't gonna phase you, right? Just like how some people just want to come home from work, open a Corona, and play Call of Duty to chill out, not to hit max rank. Those guys aren't really going to care if they get the plus 100 or not. Not as much as somebody who is really addicted and going for the ideal, you know? So it seems like the ideal is important in order for the buy second reward to have as much value. And then buy minute reward, a lot of real life things already do come kind of built in with a buy minute reward, but not as well as video games do. Like video games, you have like the match ends, and then you see victory and you get the match bonus, and then it's kind of like a minute or a minute and a half break in between that and the next game, or some games are a little bit longer breaks. And so that kind of chunks the process up, and that makes it a lot more enjoyable. You can kind of go for hours and hours because it's being chunked up. Whereas classes and sessions in classrooms just go forever, and it's like, it's ass. They don't have breaks. But I guess if you're doing laundry, right, you kind of have to wait for the load to end until you can do the next load. So the buy minute reward is like, fuck yes, I just finished my load, right? I've finished my load of laundry. So, basically, a lot of things in life do come in with the buy minute reward or the win the match, right? But not everything has all of these components. Some will have the buy second reward, but not the buy minute. Some will have the buy minute reward, but not the larger ideal. I would argue most things are lacking a buy second reward, which is very problematic. But I would also argue most people do things that they don't really have a larger ideal. And I find that if my brain is unconsciously choosing these things in a state where I don't enjoy any particular journey, like just enjoying the process of something for what it is, then my brain will probably always choose to just do things that have larger ideals rather than, trying to search for some journey, right? So, in the end of the day, life is about the journey, but the journey is heavily enhanced when you have some larger ideal that you're working toward. And if you can find a way to get these micro doses, because at the end of the day, let's be honest, we're humans, and humans are short-sighted creatures, which is a functional adaptation put in us by natural selection. In order to keep the survival of the species, it was not advantageous to invest into, things a year from now because you might be dead. So our brain values the buy second reward more than it values the buy minute reward, and more than it values the larger ideal. But that's more of our ape brain. It seems like people have a hard time with getting the ape brain and the rational brain to get their needs both met. And to meet both of their needs, you need the larger ideal for the prefrontal cortex and the buy second reward to meet the needs of the limbic system. And if you can manage to do this with things in well-being, for example, fitness, could you imagine if you got a intense reward by the second, like every push-up was working towards some, toward the end of the workout, which led toward the larger ideal. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a lot of these things do have built-in systems, but maybe an artificial one would work. I am a fan of artificial systems. Ones like, making your own system up and giving yourself points for it. And, like, they got, like, habit trackers and stuff like that. It's fun stuff, but I don't know. If anything, this video was more food for thought, which, than anything, which is really just this idea that even when your brain has nothing that it likes and nothing that it's going for, it seems like the thing that it prefers to do is to just go towards some larger ideal. It doesn't even have fun. It cannot even enjoy the process. You could hate the process to everything in life, but at the end of the day, your brain is going to resort to just trying to obtain these ideals. So so yeah, I think that's about it. I laid out the 3 kinds of results, why they all are important. A system with only 2 out of 3 of these results is not going to be as addicting as one that has all 3 of them. And I think the analogy of a video game is pretty good, because I think humanity has needs, and a lot of needs are actually met through games. But obviously they're fake rewards, right? It'd be better to get a real reward, but who can even say real rewards matter as much? The only rewards that could really matter are ones that give you power, and there aren't many rewards like that. So, and you know, to get power, it's a doozy. It's a doozy to get power. But it's not easy to go and get power. Let's just say that. So, what I really value is just my needs getting met, and if my needs can be met through just doing well-being, that would be great. But if you're gonna do something that isn't really something that benefits your well-being, it should be something that has these three things, and it should also be something that, you know, this is another thing too. I just want to say this before I end the video. It's kind of hard to go and have this. Let's say your ideal is something that isn't well-being. Like, let's say it's like something that doesn't matter. Like, let's say you want to get really good at writing, right? It doesn't really matter if you get good at writing or not, but let's say that's your ideal, okay? The problem is it's really hard to get obsessed with it, which really getting obsessed with it is, you know, getting by second rewards, and then, you know, those add up to by minute rewards, which meet your ideal, right? If you're getting all three of these things and you're obsessed with the thing, it's really hard to get obsessed with it. And then also remember, it doesn't matter at all. And that the only thing that matters is your well-being, right? So it's really hard to keep these thoughts at bay, because the premise of being obsessed with something is that it's taking up most of your thoughts, and that you're doing it at the expense of, not always, but usually at the expense of well-being. It's really hard to remember to keep mindful of the fact that it's less important than something like sleep. You know, how are you going to do something all day, every day, and then have the discipline to sit down and say, oh yeah, this actually matters less than what I'm about to do. I'm about to go to bed. And if you can have that ability, then you really have it all. Because now you have something that kills your time, which is good. You need something to kill your time so you don't go fucking stir crazy. And you're meeting all your like well-being needs. And you're not, and the thing that's killing your time isn't doing it at the expense of your needs. That is really the best case scenario. I don't even know if a lot of this stuff that I talk about is possible, but at the very least, they're interesting to think about. So, but yeah, I think that's a good point to end the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time.